How many dawns chill from his rippling rest the seagull's wings shall dip and pivot him, shedding white rings of tumult, building high over the chained bay water's liberty. Then, with inviolate curve, forsake our eyes as apparitional as sails that cross some page of figures to be filed away, till elevators drop us from our day. I think of cinemas, panoramic slates, with multitudes bent toward some flashing scene, never disclosed but hastened to again, foretold to other eyes on the same screen. And thee, across the harbor silver-paced, as though the sun took step of thee, yet left some motion ever unspent in thy stride, implicitly thy freedom staying thee. Out of some subway scuttle, cell, or loft, a bedlamite speeds to thy parapets, tilting there momently, shrill-shaped ballooning. A jest falls from the speechless caravan. Down wall from girder into street, noon leaks a ripped tooth of the skies acetylene. All afternoon the cloud-flown derricks turn, thy cables breathe the North Atlantic still, and obscure as that heaven of the Jews thy guerdon, accolade thou dost bestow of anonymity time cannot raise, vibrant reprieve and pardon thou dost show. O harp and altar of the fury fused, how could mere toil align thy choiring strings? Terrific threshold of the prophet's pledge, prayer of prayer, and the lover's cry. Again the traffic lights that skim thy swift, unfractioned idiom, immaculate sigh of stars beating thy path, condense eternity. And we have seen night lifted in thine arms. Under thy shadow by the piers I waited. Only in darkness is thy shadow clear. The city's fiery parcels all undone, already snow submerges an iron year. O sleepless as the river under thee, vaulting the sea, the prairie's dreaming sod, unto us lowliest, sometimes sweep, descend, and of the curved ship lend a myth to God. Insistently through sleep, a tide of voices, they meet you listening midway in your dream. The long-tired sounds, fog-insulated noises, gongs in white surplices, beshrouded wails, far strum of foghorns, signals dispersed in veils. And then a truck will lumber past the wharves as winch engines begin throbbing on some deck, or a drunken stevedore's howl and thud below comes echoing alley upward through dim snow. And if they take your sleep away sometimes, they give it back again. Soft sleeves of sound attend the darkling harbor, the pillowed bay. Somewhere out there in blankness steam spills into steam and wanders, washed away, flurried by keen fifings, eddied among distant charming buoys, adrift. The sky, cool feathery fold, suspends, distills this wavering slumber. Slowly, immemorially, the window, the half-covered chair, asks nothing but this sheath of pallid air. And you, beside me, blessed now while sirens sing to us, stealthily weave us into day, serenely now, before day claims our eyes, your cool arms murmurously about me lay, while myriad snowy hands are clustering at the panes. Your hands within my hands are deeds, my tongue upon your throat, singing, arms close, eyes wide, undoubtful, dark, drink the dawn, a forest shudders in your hair. The window goes blonde slowly, frostily clears. From Cyclopean towers across Manhattan waters, 2, 3 bright window eyes aglitter, disk the sun released. Aloft with cold gulls hither, The fog leans one last moment on the sill. Under the mistletoe of dreams, a star, as though to join us at some distant hill, turns in the waking west and goes to sleep. The swift red flesh, a winter king, who squad the glacier woman down the sky. She ran the neighing canyons all the spring, she spouted arms, she rose with maize to die. And in the autumn drought, whose burnished hands with mineral wariness found out the stone, where prayers forgotten streamed the mesa sands, he holds the twilight's dim perpetual throne. Mythical brows we saw retiring, loath, disturbed and destined into denser green. Greeting they sped us on the arrow's oath. Now lie incorrigibly what years between. There was a bed of leaves and broken clay. There was a veil upon you, Pocahontas, bride, O princess, whose brown lap was virgin May, and bridal flanks and eyes hid tawny pride. I left the village for Dogwood. By the canoe tugging below the mill race, I could see your hair's keen crescent running, and the blue first moth of evening take wing stealthily. What laughing chains the water wove, and through I learned to catch the trout's moon whisper. I drifted how many hours I never knew, but watching saw that fleet young crescent die, and one star, swinging, take its place alone, cupped in the larches of the mountain pass, until, immortally, it bled into the dawn. I left my sleek boat nibbling margin grass. I took the portage climb, then chose a further valley shed. I could not stop. Feet nozzled watery webs of upper flows. One white veil gusted from the very top. O Appalachian spring, I gained the ledge, steep, inaccessible smile that eastward bends and northward reaches in that violet wedge of Adirondacks, wisped of azure wands. Over how many bluffs, tarns, streams I sped, and knew myself within some boding shade. Gray tepees tufting the blue knolls ahead, smoke swirling through the yellow chestnut glade. A distant cloud, a thunderbud, it grew, that blanket of the skies. The padded foot, within I heard it, till its rhythm drew, siphoned the black pool from the heart's hot root. A cyclone threshes in the turbine crest, swooping in eagle feathers down your back. No Maquoketa greeting, no death's best. Fall, Sachin, strictly as a tamarack. A birch kneels. All her whistling fingers fly. The oak grove circles in a crash of leaves. The long moan of a dance is in the sky. Dance, Maquoketa. Pocahontas grieves, and every tendon scurries toward the twangs of lightning dealt down your saber hair. Now snaps the flint in every tooth. Red fangs and splayed tongues thinly busy the blue air. Dance, Maquoketa. Snake that lives before, that casts his pelt and lives beyond. Sprout horn, spark tooth. Medicine man, relent, restore, lie to us, dance us back the tribal morn. Spears in assemblies, black drums thrusting on. O yelling battlements! I too was liege to rainbows currying each pulsant bone, surpassed the circumstance, danced out the siege, and buzzard circleted, screamed from the stake. I could not pick the arrows from my side. Wrapped in that fire, I saw more escorts wake, flickering sprint up the hill groins like a tide. I heard the hush of lava wrestling your arms, and stag teeth foam about the raven throat. Flame cataracts of heaven in seething swarms fed down your anklets to the sunset's moat. Oh, like the lizard in the furious noon that drops his legs and colors in the sun and laughs, pure serpent, Time itself and moon of his own fate, I saw thy change begun, and saw thee dive to kiss that destiny, like one white meteor, sacrosanct and blent at last, with all its consummate and free, there where the first and last gods keep thy tent. Feud of the levin, thunder-shod and lean, lo, through what infinite seasons dost thou gaze, across what bivouacs of thin-angered slain, and seest thy bride immortal in the maze, totem and firegall, slumbering pyramid. Though other calendars now stack the sky, thy freedom is her largesse, prince, and hid on paths thou knewest best to claim her by. High unto Labrador the sun strikes free, her speechless dream of snow, and stirred again. She is the torrent and the singing tree, and she is virgin to the last of men. West, west and south, winds over Cumberland, and winds across liana grass resume her hair's warm sibilance. Her breasts are fanned, O stream, by slope and vineyard into bloom. And when the caribou slant down for salt, do arrows thirst and leap, do antlers shine alert, star-triggered in the listening vault of dusk? And are her perfect brows to thine? We danced, O brave. We danced beyond their farms, in cobalt desert closures made our vows. Now is the strong prayer folded in thine arms, the serpent with the eagle in the boughs. The morning glory climbing the morning long over the lintel on its wary vine closes before the dusk, furls in its song as I close mine. And bison thunder rends my dreams no more, as once my womb was torn, my boy, when you yielded your first cry at the prairie's door. Your father knew then, though we buried him behind us far back on the gold trail. Then his lost bones stirred. But you, who dropped the scythe to grasp the oar, knew not nor heard how we two prodigal once rode off to Way's Seminary Hill a gay goodbye. We found God lavish there in Colorado, but passing sly. The pebble sang, the fire-cat slunk away, and glistening through the sluggard freshets came, in golden syllables loosed from the clay, his gleaming name. A dream called El Dorado was his town. It rose up shambling in the nugget's wake. It had no charter, but a promised crown of claims to stake. But we, too late, too early, howsoever, won nothing out of 59. Those years but gilded promise, yielded to us never, and barren tears. The long trail back, I huddled in the shade of wagon tenting, looked out once and saw, bent westward, passing on a stumbling jade, a homeless squaw, perhaps a half-breed. On her slender back she cradled a babe's body, riding without rein. Her eyes, strange for an Indian's, were not black, but sharp with pain, and like twin stars. They seemed to shun the gaze of all our silent men, the long team line, until she saw me, when their violet haze lit with love shine. I held you up. I, suddenly the bolder, knew that mere words could not have brought us nearer. She nodded, and that smile across her shoulder will still endear her, as long as Jim, your father's memory, is warm. Yes, Larry, now you're going to see. Remember, you were the first, before Ned and this farm, firstborn, remember. And since then, all that's left to me of Jim, whose folks like mine came out of Arrowhead, And you're the only one with eyes like him, Kentucky bred. I'm standing still, I'm old, I'm half a stone. Oh, hold me in those eyes engaging blue. There's where the stubborn years gleam and atone, where gold is true. Down the dim turnpike to the river's edge. Perhaps I'll hear the mare's hoofs to the ford. Write me from Rio, and you'll keep your pledge. I know your word. Come back to Indiana, and not too late. Or will you be a ranger to the end? Goodbye. Goodbye. Oh, I shall always wait you, Larry, traveler, stranger, son, my friend. I met a man in South Street, tall, a nervous shark tooth swung on his chain. His eyes pressed through green grass. Green glasses or bar lights made them so shine green. Eyes stepped out, forgot to look at you, or left you several blocks away. In the nickel in the slot piano jogged Stamboul nights. Weaving somebody's nickel sang, "Oh, Stamboul rose, dreams weave the rose." Murmurs of Leviathan he spoke, and rum was Plato in our heads. It's S.S. Alla Antwerp. Now remember, kid, to put me out at 3. She sails on time. I'm not much good at time anymore. Keep weak-eyed watches, sometimes snooze. His bony hands got to beating time. A whaler once. I ought to keep time and get over it. I'm a Democrat. I know what time it is. No, I don't want to know what time it is. That damned white Arctic killed my time. Oh, Stamboul rose, drums weave. I ran a donkey engine down there on the canal in Panama. Got tired of that. Then Yucatan selling kitchenware, beads. Have you seen Pocahontas, birdless mouth with ashes sifting down? And then the coast again. Rose of Stamboul, O Cara Queen, teased remnants of the skeletons of cities and galleries of water-gutted lava, snarling stone, green drums, drown. Sing! That's spiritual. He shot a finger out the door. Oh, life's a geyser, beautiful. My lungs, no, I can't live on land. I saw the frontiers gleaming of his mind. Or are there frontiers? Running sands sometimes, running sands somewhere, sands running. Or they may start some white machine that sings. Then you may laugh and dance the axletree, steel, silver, kick the traces, and know. Atlantis rose, drums wreathe the rose, the star floats burning in a gulf of tears, and sleeping up 1,000. Interminably long since somebody's nickel stopped playing. A wind worried those wicker-neat lapels, the swinging summer entrances to cooler hells. Outside, a wharf truck nearly ran him down. He lunged up Bowery Way while the dawn was putting the Statue of Liberty out, that torch of hers, you know. I started walking home across the bridge. Blithe Yankee vanities, turreted sprites, winged British repartees, skillful, savage sea-girls that bloomed in the spring, heave, weave, those bright designs the trade winds drive. Sweet opium and tea, oh, pennies for porpoises that bank the keel, fins whip the breeze around Japan, bright sky sails ticketing the line, wink round the horn to Frisco, Melbourne, pennants, parabolas, clipper dreams indelible and ranging baronial white on lucky blue. Perennial, CUTTY, trophic, SARK, Thermopylae, Black Prince, flying cloud, through thunder, scarved of foam, their bellies veered green esplanades, locked in wind, the humours ran their eastings down. A Java head freshened the nip, sweet opium and tea, and turned and left us on the lee. Bunt lines tussling, 91 days, 20 hours, and anchored. Rainbow, Leander, last trip of tragedy. Where can you be, Nimbus? And you rivals too, a long tack keeping, Ariel. I wanted you, nameless woman of the South, no wraith, but utterly. As still more alone, the Southern Cross takes night, and lifts her girdles from her one by one, high, cool, wide from the slowly smouldering fire of lower heavens. Vaporous scars, Eve, Magdalene, or Mary, you. Whatever call falls vainly on the wave, O simian Venus, homeless Eve, unwedded, stumbling gardenless to grieve, wind-swept guitars on lonely decks forever, finally to answer all within one grave, and this long wake of phosphor iridescent, furrow of all our travel, trailed at derision, eyes crumble at its kiss, its long-drawn spell incites a yell, slid on that backward vision the mind is churned to spittle, whispering hell. I wanted you. The embers of the cross climbed by a slant, and huddling aromatically, it is blood to remember, it is fire to stammer back, it is God, your namelessness, and the wash. All night the water combed you with black insolence. You crept out simmering, accomplished. Water rattled that stinging coil, your rehearsed hair, docile, alas, from many arms. Yes, Eve, wraith of my unloved seed, the cross, a phantom buckled, dropped below the dawn. Light drowned the lithic trillions of your spawn. As silent as a mirror is believed, reality's plunge in silence by. I am not ready for repentance, nor to match regrets, for the moth bends no more than the still imploring flame, and tremorous in the white falling flakes kisses are the only worth all granting. It is to be learned, this cleaving and this burning, but only by the one who spends out himself again, twice and twice, Again the smoking souvenir, bleeding eidolon, and yet again, until the bright logic is won, unwhispering as a mirror is believed. Then drop by caustic drop, a perfect cry shall string some constant harmony, relentless caper for all those who step the legend of their youth into the noon. There are no stars tonight but those of memory. Yet how much room for memory there is in the loose girdle of soft rain. There is even room enough for the letters of my mother's mother, Elizabeth, that have been pressed so long into a corner of the roof that they are brown and soft and liable to melt as snow. Over the greatness of such space, steps must be gentle. It is all hung by an invisible white hair. It trembles as birch limbs webbing the air. And I ask myself, are your fingers long enough to play old keys that are but echoes? Is the silence strong enough to carry back the music to its source and back to you again as though to her? Yet I would lead my grandmother by the hand through much of what she would not understand, and so I stumble, and the rain continues on the roof with such a sound of gently pitying laughter. It was a kind and northern face that mingled in such exile guise the everlasting eyes of Pierrot and of Gargantua the laughter. His thoughts delivered to me from the white coverlet and pillow, I see now, were inheritances, delicate riders of the storm. The slant moon on the slanting hill once moved us toward presentiments of what the dead keep, living still, and such assessments of the soul as perched in the crematory lobby the insistent clock commented on, touching as well upon our praise of glories proper to the time. Still, having in mind gold hair, I cannot see that broken brow and miss the dry sound of bees stretching across a lucid space. Scatter these well-meant idioms into the smoky spring that fills the suburbs, where they will be lost. They are no trophies of the sun. Infinite consanguinity it bears, this tended theme of you, that light retrieves from sea plains where the sky resigns the breast that every wave enthrones. While ribboned water lanes I wind are laved and scattered with no stroke, wide from your side, where to this hour the sea lifts also reliquary hands, and so, admitted through black swollen gates that must arrest all distance otherwise, past whirling pillars and lithe pediments, light wrestling there incessantly with light, star kissing star through wave on wave unto your body rocking, and where death, if shed, presumes no carnage but this single change, upon the steep floor flung from dawn to dawn, this silken skilled transmemberment of song, permit me voyage, love, into your hands. Meticulous past midnight in clear rhyme, infrangible and lonely, smooth as though cast together in one merciless white blade, the bay estuaries fleck the hard sky limits, as if too brittle or too clear to touch, The cables of our sleep so swiftly filed already hang shred ends from remembered stars, one frozen, trackless smile. What words can strangle this deaf moonlight? For we are overtaken now. No cry, no sword can fasten or deflect this tidal wedge. Slow tyranny of moonlight, moonlight loved and changed. There's nothing like this in the world, you say, knowing I cannot touch your hand, and look, too, into that godless cleft of sky, where nothing turns but dead sands flashing, and never to quite understand, no, in all the argosy of your bright hair, I dream nothing so flagless as this piracy. But now, draw in your head, alone and too tall here, your eyes already in the slant of drifting foam, your breath sealed by the ghosts I do not know. Draw in your head and sleep the long way home. The tarantula rattling at the lily's foot across the feet of the dead, laid in white sand near the coral beach. Nor zigzag fiddler crabs side stilting from the path that shift, subvert, and anagrammatize your name. No, nothing here, below the palsy that one eucalyptus lifts in wrinkled shadows, mourns. And yet suppose I count these nacreous frames of tropic death, brutal necklaces of shells around each grave squared off so carefully. Then to the white sand I may speak a name, fertile, albeit in a stranger tongue, tree names, flower names, deliberate, gainsay death's brittle crypt. Meanwhile, the wind that knots itself in one great death coils and withdraws, so syllables want breath. But where is the captain of the doubloon isle without a turnstile? Who but catchword crabs patrols the dry groins of the underbrush? What man, or what, is commissioner of the mildew throughout the ambushed senses? His CARIB mathematics web the eyes baked to lenses. Under the poinciana of a noon or afternoon, let fiery blossoms clot the light, render my ghost, sieved upward, white and black along the air, until it meets the blue's comedian host. Let not the pilgrim see himself again, for slow evisceration bound like those huge terrapin each daybreak on the wharf, their brine-caked eyes spiked, overturned, such thunder in their strain, slagged on the hurricane I cast within its flow, congealed by afternoons here, satin and vacant. You have given me the shell, Satan, a carbonic amulet, seer of the sun, exploded in the sea. Green rustlings, more than regal charities, drift coolly from that tower of whispered light. Amid the noontide's blazed asperities, I watch the sun's most gracious anchorite climb up as by communings, year on year, uneaten of the earth or aught earth holds, and the great trunk that's elephantine rear its fronding, sighing in ethereal folds, forever fruitless, and beyond that yield of sweat the jungle presses with hot love, and tendril till our deathward breath is sealed. It grazes the horizons, launched above mortality, ascending emerald bright, a fountainet's salute, a crown in view, unshackled, casual of its azured height, as though it soared such wise through heaven too. Lo, Lord, thou ridest, Lord, Lord, thou swifting heart, naught stayeth, naught now abideth, but smithereen apart. Aye, Scripture fleeth stone, milk bright, thy chisel wind rescindeth flesh from bone to quivering whittlings, thinned, swept, whistling straw, battered, Lord, e'en boulders now outleap, rock sockets, levin lavered, nor, Lord, may worm out deep thy drum's gambade, its plunge abscond. Lord God, while from its crashing whip sea gulp, screaming on blonde sky seethe, high heaven dashing, thou ridest to the door, Lord, thou bidest the wall, nor floor, Lord. The bell rope that gathers God at dawn dispatches me as though I dropped down the knell of a spent day to wander the cathedral lawn from pit to crucifix, feet chill on steps from hell. Have you not heard, have you not seen that core of shadows in the tower whose shoulders sway, antiphonal carillons launched before the stars are caught and hived in the sun's ray? The bells, I say the bells, break down their tower and swing I know not where. Their tongues engrave membrane through marrow my long scattered score of broken intervals, and I, their sexton slave, oval encyclicals and canyons, keeping the impasse high with choir, banked voices slain, pagodas, campaniles with reveilles outleaping, O terraced echoes prostrate on the plain. And so it was I entered the broken world, to trace the visionary company of love, its voice, an instant in the wind, I know not whither hurled, but not for long to hold each desperate choice. My word I poured, but was it cognate, scored of that tribunal monarch of the air, whose thigh embronzes earth, strikes crystal word in wounds pledged once to hope, cleft to despair? The steep encroachments of my blood left me no answer. Could blood hold such a lofty tower as flings the question true? Or is it she whose sweet mortality stirs latent power? And through whose pulse I hear, counting the strokes, my veins recall and add, revived and sure, the Angelus of wars my chest evokes. What I hold healed, original now and pure, and builds within a tower that is not stone can jacket heaven, but slip of pebbles, visible wings of silence sown in azure circles, widening as they dip the matrix of the heart, lift down the eye that shrines the quiet lake and swells the tower, the commodious tall decorum of that sky unseals her earth and lifts love in its shower. So dream thy sails, O phantom bark, that I, thy drowned man, may speak again, perhaps as once Will Collins spoke the lark, and leave me half a dream upon the main. For who shall lift head up to funnel smoke, and who trick back the leisured winds again as they were fought and wooed? They now but stoke their vanity, and dream no land in vain. Of old there was a promise, and thy sails have kept no faith but wind. The cold stream, the hot fickle wind, the breath of males imprisoned never, no, not soot or rain. After it was over, though still gusting balefully, the old woman and I foraged some drier clothes and left the house, or what was left of it. Parts of the roof reached to Yucatan, I suppose. She almost, even then, got blown across lots at the base of the mountain. But the town, wires in the streets, and Chinamen up and down with with arms and slings, plaster strewn dense with tiles, and Cuban doctors, troopers, trucks, loose hens, the only building not sagging on its knees, Fernandez Hotel, was requisitioned into pens for cottage Negroes, bandaged to be taken to Havana on the first boat through. They groaned. But was there a boat? By the wharf's old site you saw 2 decks unsandwiched, split 60 feet apart, and a funnel high and dry up near the park where a frantic peacock rummaged amid heaped cans. No one seemed to be able to get a spark from the world outside. But some rumor blew that Havana, not to mention poor Batabano, was halfway under water with fires for some hours since. All wireless down, of course, there too. Back at the erstwhile house we shoveled and sweated, watched the ogre sun blister the mountains, stripped now bare of palm, everything, and licked the grass as black as patent leather, which the rimed white wind had glazed, everything gone or strewn in riddled grace, long tropic roots high in the air like lace, and somebody's mule steamed, swaying right for the pump. Good God! As though his sinking carcass there were death predestined. You held your nose already along the roads, begging for buzzards, vultures. The mule stumbled, staggered. I somehow couldn't budge to lift a stick for pity of his stupor. For I remember still that strange gratuity of horses, one ours, and one a stranger creeping up with dawn out of the bamboo brake, through howling sheeted light when the storm was dying. And Sarah saw them too, sobbed. Yes, now, it's almost over, for they know the weather's in their noses. There's Don, but that one white, I can't account for him. And true he stood like a vast phantom, maned by all that memoried night of screaming rain. Eternity. Yet water, water. I beat the day's mule toward the road. He got that far and fell dead or dying, but it didn't so much matter. The morrow's dawn was dense with carrion hazes sliding everywhere. Bodies were rushed into graves without ceremony, while hammers pattered in town. The roads were being cleared, injured brought in and treated, it seemed. In due time, the president sent down a battleship that baked something like 2,000 loaves on the way. Doctors shot ahead from the deck in planes. The fever was checked. I stood a long time in Max talking New York with the gods. Guantanamo, Norfolk, drinking Bacardi and talking USA.